Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Gummy's Shotgun Fun Time. And today is a very different day. It's going to be a very relaxed type of day, and we're just going to basically talk and have a discussion about shotguns in Warzone and the current meta of things. So Warzone right now is probably in the best place it's ever been since launch, really. Across all weapon categories, for the most part, everything seems to be serving their intended purpose and doing pretty well. Yeah, there's a couple of weird outliers, like you have things like the Scar that needs a good buff, or the Dragunov. But for the most part, a lot of guns are serving their intended purpose, and everything is just kind of in a great place, and I'm really happy about that, because Warzone, ever since Cold War integration, has been just kind of all over the place, and now it's finally starting to settle down, and it's allowing for a meta to kind of set in place to where everything kind of has their own place and their own identity, at least the guns do. And as the sort of shotgun guy here on YouTube for Call of Duty and soon to be Battlefield, hopefully, I wanted to offer my input on the current state of shotguns in Warzone and what I would like to see change, because currently I have a few shotguns that I think need some love. Now, of course, the Street Sweeper and the Gallo, the Origin, the Jack 12 and things like that, I think they're fine. They're perfectly fine. They don't need to be adjusted. They're strong up close, how it should be, really bad damage drop-offs, and they're perfect. Just don't touch them, okay? But what I want to do is talk about the ones that need some love. More specifically, the Model 680, the Hauer, the VLK Rogue, and the 725, which isn't really a pump action, but I'm going to lump it in all together and just say pump actions as a whole. Now, I did make a video probably a few months back about my proposed buff for these pump action shotguns, and you can check out that video. I'll leave a link to it in the description. But what I want to do is talk about that, reiterate, and share some hopes and desires and things like that, and even talk about the R90, because I think the R90 in its state needs a little bit of love as well. So let's just get right into it with some ideas that I had. Now, in the current state of Warzone, pump actions are just kind of in this weird spot where they're not really that good. And I mean, if you pick up a ground loot Hauer, for instance, you can maybe kind of work with it early game when people have like 2 plates of armor, or everybody's been getting shot from the sky, so they only have like 1 plate of armor or no armor at all, so then you one shot. And then, of course, you see clips on YouTube or on, Twitter or something where they say, oh my god, the Hauer's insane, it's a one-shot, when they didn't really take into account the damage that had been done before. But currently, these pump actions, that's really the only time they're any good, is this beginning part of the game. If you're using a shotgun like the 680 late game, it's going to be a really tough time for you. I mean, you can kind of make it work against maybe bad players, but any decent player will absolutely destroy you, because if you look at the stats, the Model 680 against 3 plates of armor will always be a 2-shot kill no matter what. And with a fire rate of about 70 rounds per minute, this makes your time to kill at minimum around 857 milliseconds. That is an enormous amount of time, and that's if most of your pellets hit and you get a 2-shot. God forbid it takes 3 shots to kill up close and personal. It's just ridiculous. Wow, I mean, like, some guns can kill you 2 or 3 times over in that amount of time. It's insane, and that to me is kind of upsetting, because a Model 680, a gun like the Hauer or even the VLK Rogue, they should be rewarding you for pushing and being aggressive and getting in someone's face, and you can just knock them out in a shot if you're really close. I'm not saying that a shotgun should be one-shotting you from, 7 meters, 8 meters, nothing like that. But up close in their face, I see no reason why a shotgun blast to the face should not one-shot down someone. It just seems to make tons of sense to me. Now, as I always say, time to kill isn't everything, and there's some effective ways to use these pump actions, mostly by doing something like corner checking and things like that, these kind of outmaneuvering your opponent, which can make it work, but that's really difficult, and I think that the skill needed for that is pretty high, and that's probably why a lot of people don't use these guns, and just because they're kind of bad all around. But you can still kind of make it work if you use that corner checking technique. But overall, I still think that they just need a little bit more love. Now, onto my proposed buff that I had mentioned earlier. So let's take a look at the Model 680 as the example gun I always like to use. So for the Model 680, we have a max damage range of about 3.4 meters, where in this max damage range, if all your pellets hit, you're going to be dealing around 204 points of damage. What this means is that it will never down in one shot against 3 full plates of armor. In Plunder and things like that, where you only have 2 plates, yeah, you can one shot down someone, but that 3 meters is just not enough. I mean, 3 meters is spitting distance. So depending on the shotgun you choose, you have a certain percentage of your max damage range where you can deal over 250 health, maybe around 300 points of health if you hit most of your pellets. and that isn't going to be your whole max damage range, but just a percentage of that. So for the Model 680 with its 3.4 max damage range, say for the Model 680, it gets a 30%, or no, let's do 50% of that is a one-shot kill. So then 3.4 divided by 2, it's like what, 1.7 meters. And in that 1.7 meters, you can deal enough damage to absolutely one-shot down someone with 3 plates. And then of course, if you're stacking attachments like using the Marauder and the Sport Barrel, you get about a 4.5 meter max damage range. So half of that is about what, 2.25. So again, 2.25, that's where you can do a phenomenal, really, really strong one-shot kill. I think that sounds totally fair because that is not a big range, but it's still possible, and you're really rewarded for being in someone's face, as you should be. Now, to keep it balanced, you want to do that percentage based on the shotgun itself. So for the Model 680 with 50%, that might be a little generous, but that would probably be one of the higher end ones, whereas something like the VLK Rogue or the Howler that shoot a little bit faster, maybe make it to where they only get 20% or 30% of that max damage range. So that way it doesn't just make the Model 680 useless, and it still kind of balances out because of that fast fire rate. This alone sounds like a great buff. Just the ability to one-shot kill sounds so good to me, but really, we don't have to stop there. I say if they want to go above and beyond, they could just bump up the damage in that max damage range just a little bit, so it's a little bit stronger, maybe make it like 240 points of damage or something like that. So if anyone's nicked at all, you can get the one-shot down. But outside of that, I think that the shotgun, the pump actions, should stay kind of how they are. The 2-shot and 3-shot range, yeah, they're still kind of bad in a way, but honestly, as long as they have the ability to one-shot, that's the primary concern for me. And as long as that damage is upped a little bit in that max damage range, I think that's also a really smart move. Something creative they could also do is maybe make it to where they have a certain muzzle attachment they introduce that bumps up the damage, but you can't rock a suppressor, and it really hurts your effective damage range, but it does unlock some really, really tremendous stopping power, and you can one-shot down someone in the max damage range. Something like that. Just be creative with it. Of course, you don't want to go overboard and make these things overpowered or start overshadowing the Gallo and things like that, but currently, those shotguns like the Gallo and the Street Sweeper, they're going to rock your world if you're using a Model 680 or Howler, so just don't use them. But with my proposed buff, I think that it'd make them a lot more viable, and a lot of people would probably start to want to use them and perfect their craft of using them. Now, another shotgun I wanted to mention is the R90, because currently the R90, it's a 2-tap and then reload type of shotgun, but that 2-tap, well, there really isn't one. It's actually a 3-tap up close. And I checked it recently, and yes, if you do 2 shots, you do just enough damage to leave about 10 points of health, but you do not get a 2-shot kill. And because of that reload in between, it makes things a little annoying. So in its max damage range, which I think was like 2 to 3 meters, I say just bump up that damage and make it 2-shot at least. Make it to where those 2 shots are doing well over 250 damage. So again, you're rewarded for being up close. But then outside of that, keep its 2-shot and 3-shot range and all that. I think that's one of the shotguns that's definitely very ignored in today's day and age, especially with things like Dragon's Breath and slugs taking over. People just don't really want to rock the base R90. It just really isn't that good anymore. Again, you can still kind of make these shotguns work, but it's just so much more difficult and so much more of a hassle, and it's such a niche situation that you're really not rewarded for it, whereas you're so much better off using an MP5, an AR, an LMG, just pretty much anything else, or just another shotgun that isn't a pump action. Now, this isn't really necessarily a buff, but one thing I would like to see is some more unique ammo types for shotguns, maybe some sort of armor-piercing shotgun round, or maybe just adding slugs to the Cold War shotguns. I think that would be really cool. I just think with shotguns, there's so many cool possibilities you can do. Maybe add Dragon's Breath on another type of shotgun, but, you know, keep that balanced and in check because people love to scream about Dragon's Breath. But just be creative about it, because in Battlefield, you have so much variety, and I would really love to see that come in Call of Duty. And really the only shotgun that has that is the Model 680, and I love what they did with the Model 680. I just wish we could see that with some other shotguns and get a little bit more variety. But to sum it up, what I really think is that the Model 680, the Howler, the 725, the VLK Rogue, and the R90 all need some love up close, and I mean really up close. That's really the primary area of concern for me. They need to be a little bit more rewarding if you're pushing and being aggressive. And also, let's throw in some slugs on those Cold War shotguns, Raven Software. Let's just do it. And that is just about going to do it for this video, guys. A little bit of a different video today, but I just kind of wanted to turn on my computer and talk and just kind of get my thoughts out on what I could hope for the next season or the future seasons of Warzone coming up. I just think some shotguns need some love. I know that's probably a contentious thing to say, but it is what it is. And let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Because without you guys, I really wouldn't make this type of video. I really wanted to get a discussion out there and hear what your thoughts are, what you'd like to see from shotguns. Is there a certain shotgun you'd like to see come to the game in Season 4 or Season 5 or anything like that? And with all that being said, I want to see you guys in the next video.